Hey folks, we did a survey to a bunch of college students asking them what their greatest struggle, challenge, or question was about dating in the college world and got some really fun responses. We're going to be doing some coaching through some of these responses in this episode today.
I do want to say too that this is a Catholic college. So they have I'm not saying they're the only people who have these thoughts, but they have very unique thoughts around dating.
A lot of rules.
A lot of rules, a lot of unspoken rules. So we're going to break that down and we're going to do some hypothetical coaching. Obviously, the person is not here, so we can't do live coaching, but hopefully you can walk away with some tips and techniques to use or to give to somebody who you know who's in this situation.
Yeah, and we're going to be at Seek this year doing some dating coaching at the Candid booth in Columbus. So, we'll see you guys there. Hey folks, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Erin.
And we're going to be your Catholic dating coaches for the next 45 minutes here today. Recently surveyed a couple of college students and asked them this question. When it comes to dating in college, what is your greatest struggle, obstacle, or question that you have? And got some fun responses. Lots of thoughts to take captive,
yes,
I might say.
A lot of journal fodder, if you will.
Yeah. And so we thought it'd be appropriate to throw our dating coach hats on just as a bit of a warm up. In fact, in our previous episode, we had Taylor O'Brien on, who we're partnering with over at Seek 2026. We're going to be in Columbus at her booth. And she's with Candid Dating, right? Which is a Catholic speed dating app. It's all about forming people for an authentic encounter and then taking the speed dating, traditional speed dating, but just bringing a little bit of virtue into it, Catholicizing it, if you would. But I know last year they had a huge success at Seek when they broke all kinds of records, undocumented, but we'll give her credit for it still, for having like the largest speed dating event.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that we'll be coaching because, as you guys will soon learn, there's a lot of mindset around dating. There's a lot of mindset traps that people fall into. And honestly, I wish I knew about mindset coaching when I was in this phase of my life.
Yeah.
When I was in college, when I was like looking for my spouse, I really, really wish I knew how to manage my mind and really just critically think about the stories that my brain was throwing at me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, and this doesn't, just because we're focusing the survey and kind of the audience here on college students, we've also surveyed adults that were single in the past. We did some work with National Catholic Singles Conference and surveyed their people. Lots of similarities that were there. I'd say there was a little bit of differences. I think even when you get a little bit older,
there's impatience.
There's a little bit more impatience. Yeah. There's a little bit more perhaps wounded history that's bitter. There of things that didn't work out. Maybe there's a divorce or a relationship that was painful in the past that, college students, maybe they haven't necessarily had that same kind of life experience, but nonetheless, if you are in college or if you are somebody that has a college student, maybe you work on a college campus and they're bringing their dating struggles to you, which they are. I talked to Nathan Carr, who's one of our certified coaches, a campus minister over in North Dakota. And he's like, I am an impromptu dating coach just by virtue of being a campus minister.
Pick this niche. It picked me.
Yep. So there's going to be some helpful tips here. And again, we're coaching off of survey responses. So all we're getting is like a couple of thoughts captured from our survey respondents. And then we're filling in the blanks with some assumptions on our part. And so it may not necessarily fit, if you responded to our survey and you hear us coaching your thought, right? We're making some presumptions here that may not necessarily be reflective of your experience. And so we don't mean to project that on you. We're kind of just filling in the gaps as best we can. But hoping that we can help you to do some self-reflection.
Yeah. Certainly reach out to us if you want real coaching. But yes,
or come to the booth.
For the sake of today's podcast, we are going to do what we call hypothetical coaching, just based on the intel or the data that was given to us. So these thoughts.
Yep.
Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's start. Erin's got like a little cold here. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Just say a prayer for my bride here.
Please say a prayer.
Get some pneumonia or something like that. Lord, deliver us. Okay. All right. I love this first one, Erin.
Yep.
So we're going to read verbatim what the respondent shared about, again, the question. What's the biggest struggle, challenge, or question you have about dating in college?
Yeah.
What do we got?
Well, I like that a lot. These are all different and kind of show the person's personality, even though we don't know who said
anonymous,
what.
Yeah.
It's still like there's like a whole story around it, or there's like 2 words, like, so it kind of it just shows how unique we all are.
Yes.
All right, so here's the story. In modern dating, there is a high bar of entry and exit. It's a commitment to the relationship once you go on a date. Then when it's not a fit after a few dates, there's a breakup. Okay. So
and then they go, interesting.
Interesting. Yes. So that's a whole lot of thoughts. As a mindset coach, I would just choose one. Okay. Because we want to kind of couple things, just generally speaking, that's what we want to do as humans. We want to be the most efficient with our time. So we're like, we'll put it all together. But every single one of these thoughts, there's a number of them, create a different trajectory for the person. And so as the
different
mindset coach, as a mindset coach, I would just choose one. If the person was sitting in front of me, I would kind of repeat back to them. And then I would say, which one do you feel like is the heaviest? But because the person isn't here, I'm going to choose it for them.
Yeah.
So the first sentence I thought was the most interesting for me. In modern dating, there is a high bar of entry and exit. Okay. The first thing I would do I would ask them, hey, what is that tone of voice? Like, if that were to be said to you out loud in modern dating, there's a high bar of entry and exit. Like, what would that tone of voice, what would be the emotional tone behind it? And I would say there's probably one of two, like worrisome and discouraging, like maybe one or the other, right? It's like there's a high bar of entry and exit, leading to an emotion of fear, probably, right? Because there's higher stakes, right? There's a whole story, even just in that little sentence. And I'm going to break it down even more because it's really just in a couple words that there's a big story in this. The actions that usually come from fear are like, you don't ask anyone on a date, right? Because there's high stakes. Maybe you spin in confusion. Maybe you try to control other people's expectations of you, or you try to lower the bar, if you will. But there isn't really a lot of action, leading to the fruits of no dating and the same fruits that you've been getting up until now.
Yeah.
Right.
And even this thought, it may sound like it often when people are sharing these things, they just rattle it off like it's a headline and it's fact. Like it's a fact, right? It's just like modern dating. There's this thing called modern dating, and the bar is high for the entry into the exit. Right?
Which brings me to my next question. And I would say, who gets to determine the bar? Obviously, there is like an internal measurement in your mind. And I would question who is who determines the origin of this bar, and could the bar ever be lowered? And do you get a say in this or whatever? Because these are rules that you've made up in your mind. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but I'm saying that to actually empower the person and say it's actually an arbitrary measurement. Okay. Which usually starts to free the person up. Like, hey, if you could just decide what the bar is going into a relationship, because I know there's other people out there who exist who do not have this bar. or who have a lower bar and they have no problem getting into the relationships and getting out of them. But like, could that be the case for you? And is that something that you even want to do? Okay. Because another option could be that this bar is high and you've made this bar high because you have this, you put value on a personal relationship, which is nothing to be ashamed of. But when you have that high value attributed to relationships, just to own that and to say, yeah, no, this bar is high for me because I value personal relationships, I value romantic relationships, and I want to be able to give a certain amount of effort and intentionality towards that relationship. So now it's not like outside of me, some person creates this high bar and I don't know if I meet it or not. And now that leads to a lot of fear and powerlessness. Now it's saying, I get to establish the bar and this bar is actually okay. I kind of want to have a high bar when it comes to relationships because that's important to me. And now I get to choose, is now worth it? Is now the time I want to put into this relationship? So it's moving from outside of your agency into inside of your agency, which is yay, always a big shift.
Yeah.
People.
So like even defining high bar here, I mean, the way it sounds like the way that you're talking about it is like having an expectation for the relationship here. I'm looking at like in the context of like it's where he says, or this person says, it's a commitment to the relationship once you go on a date. Then when it's not a fit for after a few dates, there's a breakup. And so it's like that word, I hear that word commitment kind of stand out where it almost like there's, I'm wondering if there's a desire for there not to have to be this commitment. And that's kind of the rule that's there in the high bar. It's just like, well, the commitment is the high bar. And once I go on a date, like there's an expectation of me to be committed. And there's an expectation perhaps from others to be committed. And I think of like, you know, other friends coming up to me and be like, so what's going on with you and so-and-so? And like, suddenly now there's this expectation that, well, I need, right? Maybe there's a thought, I need to now justify the status of this relationship or put a label on it or to define something that I'm not necessarily wanting to define right now.
Yeah.
And like, once I define it as a relationship, now there's this impeding thing if it doesn't work out, like I got to break up and that's a whole other dramatic thing later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That feels heavy. It just feels like when I heard this one, I was like, man, this just feels like super heavy.
Well, yeah, because there's a bunch of unmeasured like parameters that you've placed on it. Like the whole like commitment, like what does commitment mean to you? Is that the thing that's establishing the high bar or like what is all of this? So obviously there's a lot of things that we can't answer because the person isn't here. But yeah, that would be a great like way to kind of go down the passageway, because it could be ultimately, here's what's happening behind this whole thing. There's a lot of unspoken rules around dating.
Yes.
Right. And so even asking who is establishing these rules,
I love that question.
Are these rules that everybody needs to follow? Right. Like, so there's like so many rules around all of it. Like even just like, what is commitment? Like that's another rule.
Yeah.
So I think a great question for whoever is thinking this, like who is establishing these rules? Do I need to follow these rules? And another thing I would love for you to challenge is when you are operating out of fear, because that's ultimately, if you grab pretty much any one of these thoughts, it's going to lead to some kind of fear or hesitancy. When you are making decisions out of fear, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Are you happy? Do you feel like you are making decisions from your free will in freedom? Chances are no. A lot of times when we are making decisions out of fear, it's self-protection, but it also feels very powerless. So we are abdicating our free will decisions over to something arbitrary, something made up, something maybe that other people have said, but now you are hyper looking for that evidence because you're already believing this, that there's commitment and there's unspoken rules and all of this stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of drama that's involved, and I see the statement about the high bar as something that kind of adds to the drama story, and the drama story is kind of fueled by the unspoken rules that there needs to be a big commitment or a big breakup that's bookending this relationship.
Yeah,
and I don't necessarily know that it has to be. And so, like, even from a coaching perspective, I would love to ask the question: what would it look like if these weren't the rules, right? If you could invent the rules for like the ideal way that you'd want to approach a dating relationship, what might that look like?
Yep.
And just get them thinking about like, what is that? Because the reality is this: you get to choose your expectation or what game you're playing, what rules you're playing by when it comes to the dating game.
Right. Right. You and whoever it is that you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I would highly recommend being like transparent about that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to come up later, but like that was kind of when we first started dating, you were honest and you were like, hey, I'm also like kind of sort of still discerning the priesthood. And I remember us having this conversation and it was just like, I was like, could you do me a favor and just be honest with where you're at? Like kind of every step of the way. So right.
That kind of doesn't really work for me. You
what?
Like, I remember you telling me, it's just like, you asked me to define the terms of the relationship at one point.
Yes.
And I was like, well, if you're asking me if I'm going to continue discerning priesthood right now, the answer to that is no. And you're like, no, like that's not enough. Like I want to know that's okay. So you're not committed to pursuing priesthood right now, but I want to know if you're committed to me. Right.
Yeah.
And it really was something that at that season of my life, I really admired it when you said that to me and you asked me to kind of like get out of this kind of undefined place and say, okay, this is how I am choosing to go forward. But you're also saying, okay, this is my expectations of what I would like. It wasn't a demand.
Yeah.
But it was also an invitation to be like, okay, no, I want an invitation to be clear.
Yeah.
That was super, super helpful for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And we were also like 27. So we had some life in between, a lot of disappointments.
So wise at the age of 26, 27. Okay. So that was the first thought here. Let's jump to the next one.
Yep.
This one's loaded. All right. We get a whole download of this, but there's some similar themes here. Okay. So this is a new survey response from, what are the biggest challenges when it comes to dating in college?
Could you read it off?
Yeah. So this person said, I would say feeling the pressure from others to get married. It's harder for it to be natural dating in that case. It oftentimes can feel like it's such a serious thing. This leads people not to go on dates nearly as much. Another thing that prevents people from going on dates is that the word spreads quickly and then the pressure comes. This causes people to talk with another for a while and be completely sure they want to move forward before asking them on a date. Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, a lot of thoughts. I would just choose one and they were all kind of like, I would say there's like foundational thoughts and then like, here's how we act from this. And here's kind of the byproduct of believing this thought. So the one that I am going to choose, cause it's kind of like there could be one of two that are like the foundational ones, but the one I'm going to choose is I would say feeling the pressure from others to get married. Now that is not necessarily a thought, but we can make it into a thought by being like, okay, so if I were their coach, I would say, so you are believing that others are pressuring you to get married, correct? And then they would say, yes. Okay. So I just took that kind of sentiment and just said like, how do we make this an actual cognition, like a thought that somebody's having? Likely the person would say, yes, that's what I'm believing. So like others are pressuring me to get married. Once again, like Matt was saying earlier, so often we can believe that thoughts are facts because we believe them and we believe them hard. And it's like, well, not necessarily the case. But let's see where this thought/fact, I'm doing air quotes, is leading us so that we can see if we want to keep focusing on it, right? So the thought, others are pressuring me to get married. And by the way, guys, this is from a very Catholic campus. I want to say that out of these are maybe not the thoughts that other college campuses are having. I remember a lot of people thinking this at Franciscan, where I went. So maybe this is a Newman School thing. Not really sure, but I just wanted to say that out of the gate. Okay. So others are pressuring me to get married. That's the thought. The emotion, I would imagine, would be like fear or powerlessness. Once again, this is kind of where that overlap lies. Like it's leading to the same emotional reaction or emotional response. The actions would be avoiding going on dates and getting to know one another, trying to manage other people's expectations about you. Failure to launch, meaning you just kind of talk to people but never fully commit to a relationship. So you're not like not going on dates and you're not talking, but it's kind of this in-between weird thing.
Well, I think that this person actually gave it to you very clearly. It's like, so what they do in response is exactly what you said. Like we talk for a while because we have to really discern,
make sure
whether or not we are going to be able to commit so that we meet the expectations of all these other people around us. And we can I don't know, maybe I'm adding a little bit of narrative there, but but this person said exactly that, it causes people to talk with one another for a while before being completely sure that they want to move forward and asking the person on a date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, there's just like a lot of heaviness around other people's expectations, not wanting to disappoint other people, perhaps, or playing by these rules that I need to be in a place where when somebody asks me, I have to justify or give some sort of a defining my terms or lay claim or something like this to the relationship where it's at before I'm really ready to.
Yep. Yeah, I think the first thing I would do is I would find out where it's like leading them. And we just kind of looked at that where it's just like, is that, and then ask them like, do you want to keep thinking this thought? Others are pressuring me to get married because look at where it's leading you, know? And like, also like, does that pressure, I'm doing air quotes, go away in doing all of these things? Yeah. Or does it get heavier? Does it get bigger? Because I'm just guessing that this might be a man. I don't know. But a lot of females will take all of that talking to or whatever as kind of like a commitment in some way, shape, or form. And so was that ever spoken about? Is that ever kind of articulated and said? And I'm not saying that women are off the hook, ladies. I got a lot to say to you too, because there are some high expectations that we place on men that is not fair and not loving. But first I would say, is it true that other people are placing this pressure on you? Okay. Show me the factual evidence of this because it might be made up. I'm not saying it's fully on made up, but you might be believing that. And then, like I said, finding evidence to support that. See all the people who are putting pressure on me. It's just a really powerless place to be when you give your power over to somebody else and you say they, and every time we blame, that's what happens. We are giving our power over to other people.
Yeah. And I can imagine a scenario, in this case where say there's a guy and he's been talking with a girl for a bit and then somebody comes up to him and is like, so what's going on with you and so-and-so?
Yeah.
Like, is this going anywhere?
Right.
Like, is this like, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you committing? This looks like such a great thing. Like, we can't see it. Why can't you see it? So I can see those conversations happening and then that being what they experience, the circumstance around that they're labeling as pressure.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you broke that down because that's a very real circumstance. Yeah. And here's what I want to say. You have choice of interpretation of this. Okay. And this is where the mindset comes in. So somebody might hear that. One other person might hear that and say, this is this person's opinion. This has nothing to do with me. This is something's going on with them that they think that they need to act on something, right? Like it was really very little to do with one person could think that. I'm just saying that that's an option. A person also could think they are putting pressure on me. So what I'm saying is that there is a choice of this interpretation of how other people are acting. Okay. And the reason why we're doing this, I'm not invalidating this person's experience, but the reason why we do this is because when we ground it in factual evidence, there's drama removed from it. Okay. And now we can start to step into our agency or free will and like, how do I want to respond to that? Because I'm glad that you brought that up, because there are some times when I'm coaching somebody and they're like really fighting for something to be a fact that isn't, but I'll go, okay, I'll give it
to you.
I will give it to you. Let's say it's a fact. Let's say people are coming up to you with a gun and they're like, will you tell me what is going on with you guys? Like that is like full on pressure. I'm not saying it's a real gun, but like, you know, a finger.
It was
gun.
just your finger, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It was just not real.
But let's say the pressure is really real. Okay. And I'm going to agree with you. I can take a blood test and I can be like, these people are pressuring you. Like it says it.
Bears beats.
Right.
Battlestar Galactica.
Now what? Right? Now what? Now, how do you want to respond to it? Let's say it is a fact. How do you want to respond to it? Because up until now, you've given yourself one option. And that is, I must give in to the pressure or I must avoid dating at all costs. Actually, you've only given yourself two options.
Or I'm responsible for changing their opinion, right? Because if I have to give in to this. I can relieve the pressure by having them back off and no longer say these things and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Yeah. That's one way somebody can, but think about that. We go back to our locus of control and what's inside and outside of your control, right? Other people's thoughts and their opinions are outside of your control, right? And the more we try to fix our own interior life by fixing what other people are thinking or feeling or saying about us, it's backwards, right? There's going to be now we're putting pressure on them to change their opinion, where it's just like, hey, you know what? That's great. Like, I understand that you see something and for whatever reason, maybe you've been watching a lot of Hallmark movies and you just want to see things work out at the end in real life, the way that they always do in Hallmark, right? Yeah. But that's just not what's going on. And like, that's it. And I think there's an opportunity here from the Lord to just invite you to be authentic with what you want and authentic with what your experience is and actually grow in your capacity to enter into relationship by being honest and authentic yourself and saying, no, that's actually not what I want right now, nor how I see things. And thanks for your opinion. You're free to have it. And I'm free not to take it myself. Yeah. I think that to me is spoken like a person who is actually growing in their capacity to enter into a real relationship. Yes. Because they're honest with themselves. Like they're in proper ordered relationship with themselves. Yep. And even in a proper ordered relationship with the other person, recognizing, okay, they've got their thoughts and their opinions and their stuff. Yeah. Got it. They can keep it. I don't have to own that. Yes. Enough said.
I think that's a really big point because I remember coming to this conclusion, to this realization when I was like well out of college, and I wish somebody had told me this in college, but like other people, men, are not responsible for my emotions and I am not responsible for their emotions. And it is freedom to know that. It doesn't matter if you're married to them or not. That doesn't change. In fact, now is the time where you need to be learning this skill of being in that locus of control, what is within your control and what is not, having responsibility over that thing that is within your control.
Bring that order into your marriage someday and all of your relationships, please. Like this is, yes, absolutely.
So I'm thinking of what would be another way to respond to that. Let's just say, let's play that whole thing out again. Like you're like a friend's coming up to you and is going like,
what's wrong with you? Why aren't you like, can't you see it? Everybody else can see this, but you like, what are you afraid of? What's your problem?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh
yeah. Yeah. I would say, wow, I didn't know you were like that upset about it. Like losing sleep about my relational success. No, I wouldn't say that, but I would say, Yeah, like right now, this is the phase that we're in, is the discernment phase. And like, here's what I'm owning. I'm being really honest with this particular person that I'm dating. And I'm just expecting that they're being honest with me too. We've had that discussion and we're both in the I don't know phase.
Yeah.
And that's actually okay. Because if I don't learn this skill now, when am I going to? Like, when am I going to learn the skill of like discernment and like what's important to me and being able to communicate and being honest with the other person? Now, that's just, I'm like assuming that that's what's happening behind the scenes. I'm not lying about that. But I think there's something that it just removes the fear out of it. It removes the like impatience around it. Like,
it removes the drama.
Why do we
too.
need to figure this out right now? And that's kind of a big thing too, because I think there's a thought behind this entire paragraph of thoughts where it's like, I need to have this figured out right now. And what if that isn't true? What if the opposite were true? What if like right now is the time where you are okay with not having it figured out, or you're in the midst of figuring it out? What if that's true? Because that's actually more true, and that takes a lot of that pressure off. So.
Yeah. Actually, if you're cool, I'd love to go on to the next one here because I think it actually segues really well. Okay, so especially on this topic of marriage, this one comes up a lot here, folks. Okay, so this is what our survey respondents said to, you know, what's the greatest challenge, obstacle, or question when it comes to dating in college. Okay. I'm not in a stage of life where I'm ready to move in, settle down, and start a family. So dating doesn't seem like something I should pursue right now. Okay. So I look at this first, and it's just one of the questions I asked her is like, okay, what is like the foundational premise behind this? And there's a belief here that until I'm actually ready to move into like a real committed relationship, and this person is just like move in, settle down, and start a family, right? Those are like some big commitments. Until I'm in that season of life where I'm there and I'm looking for that, it's not really prudent for me to be dating, because dating is always about finding the person that you're going to move in, settle down, and start a family with. And I've heard this even spoken in some Catholic circles and speakers where it's just like, hey, if you're not looking to actually get married, you have no business dating. I want to kind of challenge that one. And that's kind of another says who situation for me. Now, if we're saying, hey, we're just kind of casually, like I can see where it's like a hookup culture. It's like, no, that's not really what we're looking for here. But what if dating was something that wasn't always about being like ending in marriage, right? What if it was something about just encountering somebody else and opening yourself up for encounter with somebody else and being formed in a relationship? And maybe it evolves into something that is romantic, right? And who knows, maybe the person opening themselves up to an encounter may suddenly find themselves in a season where now, because of this encounter, they're desiring a little bit more of this settling down or something like that later on, where it's like right now, it just seems like a very hard and fast rule that this person, or a manual that this person has around dating, that may actually close them off to an invitation to an authentic encounter. Yeah. Right. Because it's like, I think I don't know. That's my initial impression here.
Yeah. I think also both of our stories are speaking different, because like I didn't date anyone really until I met you. I was 27. Yeah. So like I had like flings here and there. I didn't not go on dates, but like I didn't
Some people would call that dating.
I know, but I didn't have a boyfriend. This is so like maybe we have to define our terms. Okay. Sure. So going on dates is different from being like exclusive with somebody and being like, this is my boyfriend or this is my girlfriend. I didn't have that until I met you. You had longer term relationships. And so you can speak to that a little bit more. I agree with you. I tend to agree with you on the piece where it's just like, I don't want fear and these kind of unspoken rules to be the reason why I'm not being formed in like kind of like essential skills, like how to communicate with somebody who you care for romantically and, that kind of stuff. So I agree with you on that end. And I want to also offer that it's actually okay to like not date until you do know that you're emotionally ready. Because if I were coaching my old self in college, I would be like, no, I think it's actually okay that you don't date.
Well, no, I agree with you. So emotionally ready is one of those. Now we got to define that term, but,
right.
But I here's what I like that you shared. And I think it even gets into this one, the survey response. If you're choosing not to date right now, and by date means like go on a date with somebody and pursue something that could evolve into a romantic interest.
Yep.
Okay. If you're choosing not to do that, and the reason for, like, make sure you've got clean reasons for doing it. If it's because of a rule, an arbitrary rule that isn't really a real thing,
or if you're avoiding it from an arbitrary rule,
right? Or then I don't think that's a healthy reason to avoid this.
I see. Yeah. Right? So be intentional about why you're doing it.
If you're in school right now and you're just like, yo, like I value my studies, my time. This is like you. I value my time with my friends. I value, just the experience of what I'm having in college, and more than actually sitting down and having a committed relationship or going out on dates beyond just like, hey, we're going to, go to a dance together or something at school. Then absolutely. If choose it from that clean place of like, I'm just elevating another preference in a higher above dating relationship right now. Yeah. That's fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So you're just kind of check into maybe the emotional motivation behind it, behind the thought, behind the decision.
Yeah. But also check in and see if there's some sort of rule that you have that says you can or you can't date based on this rule, and challenge that rule, because let's not impose unnecessarily restrictions on ourselves that somehow limit our freedom and put limits on how God may be intervening in our life and inviting us into an experience or an encounter that he really wants us to have.
Right. Yeah. Another thing is, and I kind of break this down for people who are making decisions who tend to jump, like 50 decisions ahead. And it's like, well, that's actually not what you're facing right now. Like, let's make the first decision.
Yeah. We had a drink together. So now we're naming our kids.
You're halfway down the aisle with the guy. And it's like, well, that's not where we're at right now. Like what you need to do is say yes to the next date. Like that's kind of, let's bring it down, because you don't make these massive life decisions out of nowhere. Like there's like tiny baby decisions and baby steps on the way there. So also allow it to be like that be the case too here. We don't need to jump halfway down the aisle or to the nursery or to wherever you're going. You don't need to go there right away. It's just, what's the decision that's in front of me right now?
Yeah.
I was just coaching somebody on this about having a baby, and there was like some nerves around it, and they're just married. They're not even pregnant right now. And I said, well, good news is that you have 9 months after you find out you're pregnant to prepare your mind for it. And then you don't give birth to a 3-year-old. Yay. Don't you love how God works? Like, you give birth to a beautiful little baby who doesn't do much, actually. And so you start to learn how to live with this baby. And it's the same thing when it comes to dating. It's like, you get to see, how does this person deal with hardships, and how does this, like you start to see how this person lives life. And you still get to make that decision.
Well, I love it. Yeah. What you're doing here is something, what's it look like to just be present right now to where the invitation is to encounter this person? I love the overall reframe of dating as an opportunity to encounter somebody. I love that. Because when you make dating about finding a romantic partner, you win, you lose sometimes. But if you make it always about just encountering another person and perhaps even being open to an encounter, a formative encounter that may actually form you, not for this person, but for the next person that the Lord is going to call you into a deeper romantic relationship with.
Yeah.
I think that's a win every single time.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's do another one here.
All right.
Okay. I go to a small school where reputations often follow people around, and it can be difficult to break ice and show the difference between pursuing something with someone and just being cordial.
Yeah. I think this one could be, there's a couple of ways I would go about this, but I would be like, a lot of this fear that's around these rules that is written within this, like behind this entire paragraph, can be mitigated by being honest with somebody.
But also like understanding locus of control kind of things
100%.
here too. Like,
yeah, I haven't finished it, but being honest with people, being willing to be honest with somebody, also understanding, yes, locus of control and whether or not people can make you feel a certain way or make you think a certain way. Also, there is a rule around reputations. Like the one thing I would challenge, the first thought I would challenge was reputations follow people around. Like what? That seems made up too. Like what does that even mean? Is that a hard and fast rule? Can reputations never be changed? What gives somebody a reputation? Chances are it's you not being honest with somebody, right? And like leading somebody on, and then they walk away going like, oh, I thought they liked me and they didn't. And that's why I'm saying like being honest about this, like, hey, this is where I'm at right now. And you can think however you want about that. And I will choose to honor that. And this is where I'm at right now. And so like, there's a lot of mystery around what reputation is.
I can see, like, here's the scenario that's playing out in my head. It's like, okay, have a conversation with a young lady. I'm not really interested. I'm being nice and engaging. She interprets this as me sending some sort of signals, right? Which is in her locus of control. Now I'm feeling like I need to define the terms, and that means putting a boundary in place.
Yeah.
She responds. She talks to her girlfriends about it. Now reputation starts to go out of like so-and-so just leads people on, or so-and-so's non-committal, or so-and-so, like just all the reasons why I chose to say the things that I said, but really never really asking me why I chose to say the things that I said, and how now all of a sudden that word travels around a small campus and it makes it difficult. Now that's now something I perceive that I need to overcome in order to have, maybe enter into like other relationships or a dating relationship. Yeah. Even that, if all of that I said was true, and say like the word spreads around campus, dude, that you are just emotionally, unchaste. Okay. with the ladies. If that was fact, how are you going to respond? Yeah. Right now, because if the thought is like, I need to change my other people's thoughts about me. Again, that gets into locus of control. Do we have any control over what girl says that was disappointed that I didn't ask her out on a second date? Yeah. Or what her girlfriends think about me, or, what people are whispering. Right. Do I have any control over those things? No, you don't. Actually, people are going to think what they will about you, and you get to decide if that's going to actually make you live your life less than, and continue to give that over to people. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not disappointed. That doesn't mean that you don't learn from it too. Or you don't feel hurt by people speaking. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you're not like hurt or feel an emotion about that. We certainly want to process our emotions and be able to process our emotions, which is emotional maturity, which if you do not know the skill of processing emotions, I'll talk about it a little bit more in our next podcast, but like that is a mandatory skill, I think, when you get into an adult relationship, to be able to process your emotions and allow the other person to process theirs. So
number one, totally, other people are going to think what they will. There's nothing you can do to change it. I remember learning this and being like, that actually feels freeing. Like everybody goes, well, what if people were getting coached on this? What if people think this way? They're going to. They are actually, people will think what they want to think. You can't control that. You can control your response to it and if you agree with it. Okay. So one of the things that you could actually say when somebody has thought and spoken out loud to me that they thought I was acting a certain way, the first thing I will do is go, what was my real intention here? Like, do I need to agree with them on this? Like, I agree. Yes, I probably shouldn't have acted that way. I'm so sorry. And what was my intention behind it? Well, my intention was actually for the well-being of this person.
Yeah. Want to let her down easy or something.
Right. And this is why people become attached to what other people think about them, because there is a part of them that believes that. And if you can actually even challenge and say, okay, I do believe this part, but I don't believe this because I really did have this intention of like just being kind and cordial to this person. And I won't apologize for that because I want to hold on to that habit of being kind and cordial to somebody. Now, I might preface it. I might say something else. I might follow up in this certain way or whatever so that they don't continue to think that I am liking them or whatever. But there's only so much I can do that's within my control. Then they have to take ownership as well of where their brain is going. So that's what I'm saying. It's not that you can't learn from it. And it's not that we are stoic and just be like, we don't care what other people think about us. That's fine. But like really start to search your heart and own where you might need to repent and also own what you want to hold on to, because being kind to people, I think, is always a good skill to have.
Yeah, there were certainly times when you bring up the point of repentance, where I can look back and I can see where like an emotional unchastity that was a real struggle of mine. Yeah, and those were some wounding experiences where I really had to apologize and I had to repent of that stuff on my own.
How do you know you're being emotionally unchaste? Like because
in the moment I wasn't necessarily aware of it, but when I looked at I look back and I was trying to move things along faster
in a relationship. Okay. Why?
Because I so wanted to be at the end goal of having the marriage, right? And it was like, okay, once I'm there, then I'll be happy. There was like this belief that like there was a race to get there. Okay. And so talked about marriage very early on and made promises, right? That I really, really wish, wanted them to be true, right? Because if they were true, that would mean that I wouldn't have to go back into the dating and discernment world, and I would be able to leave that part behind that I didn't really enjoy. Yeah, it was like when I started to look at the other person as an outlet to the or a release valve to the tension I felt of not knowing who my spouse was or not knowing my vocation. That's when I was starting to use the other person as a means to an end, and so there was a real need to say I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because there is like, I don't want to say a lot of this, but I do think that that's a really real thing on campuses where it's just like, like this person is operating as a relief, like it's a release valve and that tension of like confusion, but also how many people are going to other people to be like, tell me that I am worthy, tell me that I am loved, right? So it's like not only that, but like a release valve of like my confusion around my identity and who I am and my worth. Yeah. So kind of be on to yourself with that. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with other people. I'm not saying being like painfully honest, like, hey, I don't like you, so let's not have a conversation.
This whole face thing that I'm not into over here.
But there is an honesty and integrity. And then asking yourself, like, am I doing this to receive something emotionally from this person that God wants to fill in me, that like only God can fill in me? And once again, that's another great skill that now's the time to learn it before you get married, because I have coached so many people who are miserable in their marriages because they have so many unspoken rules for their marriage and for their spouse. So like now's the time. Let's kind of
dismantle those manuals, those expectations. Heavy expectations. Why don't we wrap up here?
Okay.
Cool. All right. We're going to be back in the next episode with some more of some dating coaching going on here. And if you want to get some live dating coaching where there's actually a dialogue going on.
And you're going to Seek.
In Columbus, come by the Candid booth and check it out. You can sign up with coaching for Erin and I. We're also going to have some other coaches there that we've certified at our Catholic coach certification, the mindset coach certification. And maybe you can, I don't know, undo some of these manuals that you have or expectations on dating so that you can freely enter into the opportunities the Lord's inviting you into for an authentic encounter.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, when we say manuals, what do we mean by that? And also why letting go of them is helpful. A manual is an unspoken rule book, like we have been talking about through a lot of these scenarios. Just this unspoken set of rules that who knows who made them up. Chances are it's you or yourself, right? But also to kind of drop those manuals. And the reason why that is so helpful is now you can see the person in front of you and actually have a relationship with the person in front of you, and not have it be a checklist or a thing that's not a personal relationship. We have manuals for so many others, ourselves, God, other people, our jobs, whatever. But just to drop those expectations, you can actually be in true relationship with the person. Yeah. Which is really what's the most fulfilling thing.
Beautiful. All right. Hope you feel better. All right. We'll see you guys in the next episode, and hope to see you at Seek. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.